Now, ever since the abrogation of Article 370, and we're shifting focus from Uttarkashi just northward towards the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, there's been massive decline in terror activities in the UT. And the Jammu and Kashmir administration is also leaving no stone unturned to uproot the terror ecosystem too. So deeply have they been embedded over the last 4 or 5 decades that they have rooted themselves within the administrative system itself, ladies and gentlemen. And they're pushing this war against the terror ecosystem and its key stakeholders, trying to dismantle it altogether as in Naya Jammu and Kashmir. Now, these were elements who were surreptitiously inducted into the government machinery, the administrative machinery, by various political regimes at the behest of those entities who were inimical to Bharat and who were perhaps acting as proxies for the enemy sitting over in Pakistan. Now, in the latest, there's been a crackdown against 4 more government officials for aiding, sheltering terrorists and terror activities. And in the last 3 years, the Union Territory Administration has invoked 311(2)(c) of the Constitution of India. So this article to sack more than 60 employees who were operating in shadows within the government and drawing salary from public exchequer. But they were actually helping Pakistani terror outfits. They were aiding, abetting this proxy war against Bharat, and they were furthering secessionist agenda on Bharatiya soil. Meanwhile, the National Conference and the PDP have questioned the crackdown, claiming that there's no existence or evidence again, and that the livelihood of common Kashmiris is being snatched in this entire garb of crackdown against a terror ecosystem or a proxy ecosystem. This Jammu and Kashmir administration, they began uprooting the Pak implants in 2021, and so far there have been 60 people or more than 60 people who've been sacked. Let's understand this. In 2021, there were 27 people who were sacked, 12 from the teaching profession, 5 government officials, 6 police department and 4 others. 2022, 17 were sacked, 5 from the teaching profession, 4 from government officials, 2 in the police department, 1 bank official and 5 others. 2023, 14 have been sacked so far between Jan to November, 5 teachers, university professors, education department, 3 medical officers, 3 government officials, 2 police in the police department and 1 social worker. So overall more than 60. Now who are these 4 who have been sacked by the Jammu and Kashmir administration? We'll tell you as we set up the big debate.
Hello, Moto.
So let's try and understand. So that's the ecosystem crackdown. Have Pak implants being uprooted. Dr. Nirmal Singh, former Deputy Chief Minister Jammu and Kashmir, will be joining us. We should have Advocate Nilafur Masood of the National Conference with us and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Namaste and Jai Hind. Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for joining us here on The Right Stand. 4 entities who have been sacked. We'll put out their details. All of them deeply embedded in the terror system. One of them had actually married his adopted daughter to the root cause of all of nearly 60% of these attacks. And he is operating out of Pakistan. Sajjad Bhat. Dr. Nirmal Singh, big crackdown this?
Yes. This is a all-out fight against terrorism. These were the people who have been recruited various institutions during 1990s and afterwards, when there was no government, and if the governments were there, definitely the system was such that these people, they could find places in education institutions, other government departments. And you will be remembering that in the 1990s, even police have been infected by these terrorists, and ultimately army had been called to the force police to surrender their arms. That was in the initial stages, and it's the same police which is fighting the terrorism right now. But these people, they were still in the various departments providing information to the anti-nationals, to the Pakistani elements. And after the abrogation of Article 370, after 5th August 2019, all-out fight has been started against terrorism. And our agencies, our CID, our other central agencies, they are trying to find out all these people, and they are being sacked under
So
under law.
one is a lab bearer in the education department who had connections with Sajid Jatt. The other one is a doctor, Nisar-ul-Hassan. A third is a cop who was involved in drug trafficking also, and for over a decade. And he was a constable, Abdul Majeed Bhat. And then Farooq Ahmad worked as a teacher. So they had spread themselves across these systems.
Yes, because for more than 2 decades, these people, they have been recruited, and they have been recruited under pressure, because there was a time when in Kashmir, no nationalists, even in the departments, they could work. So this was pressure in the universities. You find that in the university, various teachers have been appointed, violating all these norms. I tell you, when I was a speaker, one person, he approached me with the request that I must be regularized. And he was absconding. I don't know whether he was associated with terrorists or not. But he was, time and again, he was coming to me and asking that I must be regularized. When I asked him, where were you? During the and the system was supporting. All those people, his colleagues and other people, they supporting him. But so this was the system which was working at that time. So all these people now are being tracked down, and the action is being taken against them. And some of them, they were related to those separatists and the terrorists, which were sitting across, whether they were sitting across the border in Pakistan, or they were related to Hurriyat and all that. It was there. And now the government is asserting itself. They are being tracked down, and action is being taken against them.
Now, is this action haphazard? Is this action being done in haste? Or is it being done after proper deliberation and a proper investigation, Dr. Nirmal Singh? What's your understanding? PDP and National Conference are saying that ordinary Kashmiris, their lives are being snatched away from them.
I'll ask these people that you come up with the various facts. If they're trying to say that they are innocent, they must come forward. There are courts. Our Honorable High Court is there, or the lower courts are there. So still rule of law is there. They must come out. But the government is working after having comprehensive information, finding all the, you can say, facts, basic facts, and taking actions against them.
General Sanjay Kulkarni, was this an issue that there was help from within by these implants? And if the entire terror ecosystem has to come down, then this ecosystem has to be cracked down upon. The administrative system has to be cleaned up.
Definitely, Rahul. There's no denying the fact that this ecosystem, there has to be a tremendous amount of crackdown, because they were in all conditions. You just see after the abrogation of Article 370, as you rightly brought it, over 60 people. And they are not ordinary people. They're people with a lot of respect and repute. Doctors, you have senior police officers, you have constables, you have teachers. And at one point of time, there were 2,600 teachers enrolled who are not even secondary qualification they have. And imagine, they are, out of them, 1,700 are those teaching primary school. What kind of infiltration, what kind of terror link? I think it is unfortunate that we have political parties coming out to say so, because the government will never ever use Article 311 for the purpose of doing away with the duties, primarily because the terror links have been established. Notwithstanding that, they can go back to the rule of law and fight for themselves. But the fact still remains, they were deeply involved. They were at all times, this penetration, providing logistics, working as overground workers, providing information, working with them, and ensuring that these kind of things are happening in the state. And from very, very senior people, very respected people. Can you imagine doctors Can you imagine police officers, teachers, the Jamaitis who were part of it? Even at one point of time, the political parties would want to say that the madrasas have closed, and those teachers from there are being enrolled into these schools over here and now being brought into a regular payrolls and being paid for with an ideology which is absolutely disruptive and just fermenting such a terrorist system and links with the ISI. I think it's time that the government crack down, and this crackdown must continue. The political parties can't just immediately jump into trying to protect,
Right.
this kind of thing. What does that show? That they're definitely hand in gloves with them. Why else would they do such a thing?
Well, I think we have Mr. Najmu Saqib of the PDP on the phone line. Mr. Saqib, namaste. I just want to understand. Salam rather, Nisar-ul-Hassan, Abdul Majeed Bhat and Farooq Ahmad Mir, all of them sacked because of their links with terror and being part of an ecosystem that was working against the interests of Bharat. Your thoughts here, sir?
Well, look, the first issue that we have continuously raised is that a bureaucrat cannot be a judge, jury and executioner. You know, if these officials do not have any recourse to justice and are not allowed to, take remedial measures from the court, I think that is very arbitrary. And that is why we have time and again said that these decisions are purely vindictive and purely sort of punishing the people of Kashmir. We have seen time and again where youngsters were picked up, locked in jails for years altogether, and then court finally says that those guys were not criminals and they were not involved in any activity. So all we are saying is that if you have certain sort of concrete proofs, there is police, there is intelligence mechanism available, take that evidence, take it to the court, present a case there, give them a fair trial. I mean, it is tomorrow, Anand, let's say, God forbid, tomorrow someone in your company accuses you of having terror links. Would you not have recourse to justice? Would you not have recourse to law? Would you not have recourse to court? I mean, that is the very basis of the judicial system that we have in the country.
Correct me if I am wrong, the provision under which they have been sacked, subclause C or the proviso clause 2, article 311 of the Constitution of India, in the interest of the security of the state, and they have done it based on proper investigation done and hard proof that has been got. If they wanted to sack them, and if they decided, no, I don't like this person, I want to sack him, they could have sacked them on the 6th of August 2019. That's not happened.
So that is our basic premise, Anand. Tomorrow, let's say a different government comes at center, and then they deploy these provisos against you. Would you not have recourse to justice?
Yeah.
I mean, is it so arbitrary in the country that we cannot then let's shut the shop for the judiciary once and for all. Let's get done with it. I mean, can a bureaucrat decide that the other bureaucrat working against him or does not
not working against him, working against the interest of the state.
But that is the whole premise. A bureaucrat does not get to decide that.
Let me ask Dr. Nirmal Singh to respond to you, Najmuji. Please stay with me. Yes, Dr. Nirmal Singh.
Whether these people they have approached the court, whether court has not accepted their plea. There are courts in Jammu and Kashmir, and after finding all these evidences against them, the government is proceeding against them. That's a fact. Don't generalize the things. That the government is working against the Kashmiris and all that. If these things they are happening here for the last 30 years, 2,000 people have been killed. Whether it was all, if there was no secessionism there, if the system was not, some of the people in the system were not helping them. Don't generalize the things. If you have specific cases, you must approach the court. But they are only generalizing it. This is very unfortunate.
Najmu Saqib.
Anand, again, this is sweep. I respect Dr. Nirmal Singh. He is a very senior politician. He's been a former deputy chief minister. But in the heart of his heart, and he knows it that these guys do not have any recourse to the courts. The problem here is that a bureaucrat gets to decide that another bureaucrat works against the interests of the country. Let's say, God forbid, there is tomorrow another bureaucrat who does not like any bureaucrat. Then he deploys these.
No, but you cannot invoke these provisions. You cannot invoke these provisions arbitrarily. Unless there is proof against them, and this proof has to stand the test and scrutiny of law. Correct me if I am wrong, Ji.
If he can cite any example, if he he can cite any example.
I have numerous cases. To cite where these provisions or the different provisions were invoked, and these guys went to court, and then court quashed the judge decisions.
So let them go. So let them go to the court and get it quashed. But the point in this case.
No, the problem is that in this case they cannot go to the courts. That is the whole problem. Because the sort of
why can't they go to the courts? Why can't they go to the courts?
National security. Nirmal Singh ji, that is the whole.
No, please. Don't mislead the people. Don't mislead the nation, please.
You cannot.
That's not the case.
Have the judicial recourse.
That's not the case. You are misleading the people.
Why we are actually let's close the shop of judiciary once and for all.
No. It's not closing the shop of judiciary. Let's try and understand this. Let's look at the charges. Farooq Ahmad Mir. The charges against Farooq Ahmad Mir is to the extent that he had multiple times PSA invoked against him, and all the time that Public Security Act was invoked against him, and Public Safety Act, and he was in jail. He was marked present by the system. Who marked him present then? So somebody backed him.
Anand, hear me out. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
1 minute. If I use the same yardstick or the benchmark, do you know all the proxy parties, those who are in close proximity with the government, Nirmal Singh ji is, in know of all the details, they all have the same cases lodged against them. Why is BJP allying with them? Their senior leaders have so many serious cases and accusations against them pending in the court.
In that case, anybody and everybody could have been saying it's not. It's 60 people. It's 60 people out of nearly 4.5 lakh, if not more, of government employees. 60 people out of 4.
No. I'll cite a different reference.
Yeah.
Let's say in 2010, government promulgates a different policy of surrender and rehabilitation of ex-militants. They promulgate a policy, pass that legislation in the assembly, legally and constitutionally pass that assembly, that all those elements who were part of militancy at one point of time have been rehabilitated back into the system. And once they are rehabilitated back into the system, that means they start with a clean slate. And if they start with a clean slate, then you cannot accuse them of the crime that they have committed in the past,
the point
which
is,
the government itself has pardoned.
But point is that once
the government itself has pardoned.
If the government has pardoned for the past actions till 2011. Najmu Saqib, the government has pardoned for past actions. Najmuji, the government has pardoned.
If the government had taken lenient view, it doesn't mean that these people they were not conniving with Pakistan.
Let them go to the court, Nirmal Singh ji.
No. The idea is
the government has evidence. Let them prove it in the court.
No. Here in this case, if these people who believe they have been, or who you believe have been unfairly sacked, let them go to the court and provide proof that there is no terror association.
They cannot go to Anand, that is the issue.
Okay.
They cannot go to the court.
So they cannot go to the court is what Najmu Saqib is saying. General Sanjay Kulkarni?
Anand, let's be very honest about it. We can keep on defending these people, but the fact still remains that they were conniving with the anti-nationals, and that they had enough evidence against them, and they were given lots of chances before they were thrown out, and that is why Article 311 of the Constitution.
Najmuji, let him complete, and then you can speak over. Please don't speak over each other. Let General Sanjay Kulkarni complete, and then you may please counter, please. I request you. Yes, General Sanjay Kulkarni.
Anand, all along, they've been providing logistics, they've been spreading ideology, they've been providing information. They are the ones who are caught with weapons. They imagine 4 pistols being caught, they have ammunition, they have grenades, they have a whole lot of things with the people. They have been in supporting these IS activities. They have been working as OGW, and now amongst themselves, if some of the spokesperson were to say that they were innocent people, I think nobody under the sun would want to commit. Why just these 60 people have been picked up out of 100,000 people who are the government employees? Do we not know when we operate in the valley as to what kind of people we are dealing with on a daily basis?
Right.
So some of these people have that ideology. I'm telling you, the teachers are one of the biggest culprits in the state of J&K. No doubt about that. The Union Territory of J&K, ever since it has become one, it has ensured that these teachers are one of those big culprits. And now you have doctors, you have lab assistants, you have constables, you have police personnel, you have all kinds of these people who are wanting to say.
Right.
Let me respond.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So General Saab mentioned about teachers. Does he remember that who was the governor when the Falayam Trust policy was used by the government. It was Governor Jagmohan who sort of formulated a policy of rehabilitation of all Jamaat members, and that is how Falayam Trust came into being, and they were sort of adjusted in the education department. Number one. Number second, we have Governor Saab today. We have Corps commanders, GOC 15 Corps, and we have Northern Command GOCs requesting all the parents and the young guys who have resorted to militancy and requesting them to shun the path of the violence and come to the mainstream. Now, hypothetically, let's assume they do that. They follow his suggestions, they follow his request, shun the gun, and sort of start a normal life. And then tomorrow they are adjusted into the government sector. Now, will tomorrow any government come into the in vogue and then say, no, look, you have been in past, you have been a part and parcel of a government, of militancy. Now you cannot have a new life altogether. So you either need to have a continuity of the policy. One government formulates one policy, then you hold the other government responsible and sort of turn the tables and say, no, that policy was wrong. You need to have a continuity of the policy.
My point
if we want to rehabilitate,
it's not about rehabilitation. Najmuji, the simple point is, the state may have in the past said, all right, we're going to forget or we're going to forgive what they did in the past. But between 2011 to 2023, if they continue to act against the state, if they continue to harbor these sympathies for those entities who are inimical to Bharat, and they're compromising security and they are living off the exchequer but while working for another entity, then this period, the last 12 years, is unpardonable. Then they stand to be this one. And if there is a history and they have a rap sheet.
Let who would decide?
No, but if the administrative system has a mechanism by which they can legally invoke the clause and they can sack by the basis of the clause because they have done the due jurisprudence and due diligence at their end, they have to have that paperwork because they will also be subject to scrutiny somewhere or the other. And you can knock on the doors of the court. It's not that you cannot challenge it here. But yes, here the burden of proof lies on the sacked rather than those who actually move to sack them. So that's where the equation changes.
You cannot have presumption of the guilt. Let court decide. If there is a guilt, let government come with the evidence
if there is a provision in the Constitution that you can take this act, especially when it comes to the interest of the state or security, national security, then you can invoke this clause. They have invoked the clause. Then challenge the clause itself.
Our point is, those might have been 5 cases, 10 cases.
Right.
You cannot for years and years and years and altogether you have hundreds of these cases where you
there aren't hundreds of these cases, sir. There aren't hundreds of these cases. As of now, they are just above 60, and there are specific cases with each one of them highlighted. Each one of them highlighted individual cases
of 60 people out of 4 lakh employees that are currently in the
Correct.
You cannot have.
So if they wanted to sack 4 lakh, if they wanted to sack a majority of these 4 lakh employees, they could have gone ahead and invoked this clause against all and sundry. That's not that, sir. They are invoking it. They are invoking it against specifically 60. But these could be the bane of all problems. If these people are, if these people are the bane or the root cause of perhaps certain problems endemic to Jammu and Kashmir, which need to be changed, then that's the fix that's happening. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. And I appreciate Najmuji for you joining us on very short notice. Thank you very much, Dr. Nirmal Singh and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. We're going to take a very short break.